So is the Sony A7 III still any good in 2021? I've seen a ton of other people make a video on this subject, so I figured I would throw my hat into the ring as well. The short answer to that question, I would say, is yes. 100% definitely it is. While it's definitely nice to have the newest and the best gear, it's not always realistic. It's really expensive and it comes out so frequently that I personally wouldn't be able to keep up, but maybe you would be. I don't know. If you can do that, more power to you, go ahead and buy it. But I'm assuming most of the people here can't do that, and that's why they're asking this question. I think having that nice new gear can make your job as a filmmaker easier. You might have to do less work to get the lighting just right or make sure the scenarios are perfect when shooting on your camera, because you'll have a little bit more flexibility with the quality in post, but it won't make you a better filmmaker overnight. And when I say better filmmaker, I'm talking about story. Obviously, you've heard a lot of people say story, but also camera movements, and just in general, making a video that attracts people's attention and is something that somebody wants to watch. So what it really comes down to in the end of this whole gear question thing is if you know how to use your gear, and if you understand light, and if you can make the best out of the both of those things in the situation that you're in with the gear that you have. But I'm sure that is not the answer a lot of you came here looking for. I'm sure a lot of you just came here looking to see some footage of what the A7 III can do in different situations. So I put together a short little reel of some of my past work over this year using the Sony A7 III and one lens, the Zeiss 24-70 f.4. This is the setup I use for everything that I shoot. Give the video a watch and decide for yourself whether you think the quality of the Sony A7 III still holds up today. When the reel is done, you can keep watching. I'm gonna break down some of my favorite things a little bit further, just some more talking points. But if you're not interested in that, you can just click away right after the video is done. Either way, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on this video if you found anything up to this point helpful. All right, so here it is.
We're going under, there's nothing we can do. The final hour before we let it go to rest. It's such a heartbeat pounding in your chest in this story.
Backlash written on me, car popping on a glass bowl. I've been ballin', bring my ladies in, counting down. I'm already out, already on the countdown. I'ma set it right. Got the backlash written on me, go running from the pole, and it's on me. Don't know which way we're going now, I don't wanna know it. Might as well be going down, I don't wanna know it.
We're going up, we're going under, there's nothing we can do. The final hour before we let it go to rest. It's such a heartbeat pounding in your chest in this story. We're going under, and there's nothing we can do. The final hour before we let it go to rest. It's such a heartbeat pounding in your chest in this story.
All right, there it is. Probably not some of the most amazing shots that you've ever seen, but I think I had some pretty interesting clips there, and I think overall it's a pretty good representation of the quality of this camera. I've been shooting with this setup, the A7 III body and the 24-70 Zeiss lens, for a little over a year now, and I love it. It does a great job shooting not only video, but also photo, making it pretty versatile, especially over something like the Blackmagic, which only does video. It has great video, but it doesn't have the ability to do photos. And for someone like me where I'm switching back and forth, just being able to switch it with one click of a button is very easy, very nice, and I know I can rely on getting both good video and photo. On top of that, it's fast, it responds fast to turning on and just getting right into shooting, and it's portable and lightweight, just like most mirrorless cameras. Because the lens is also so lightweight as well and pretty evenly distributed as far as weight goes, setting this thing up on a gimbal is great. It doesn't take me that long to balance it, maybe a minute or even less. That's a huge bonus for me because a lot of the times I'm shooting in travel situations or even client situations where everything's happening so fast that I don't have the time to constantly rebalance the gimbal if I want to switch focal lengths or change lenses. Most of the time too, when I'm shooting on a gimbal with this camera, I'm using the autofocus function because I don't have a focus puller or no one else is there with me. I'm usually doing this alone, and the autofocus is always pretty good about keeping everything on the screen in focus for the most part, obviously with some exceptions. Again, for doing transitions where you go behind things, it's a little slow to re-pick up the subject. For in most situations, this thing is amazing at keeping everything in focus. Now, as far as this camera setup goes, in shooting more difficult situations, that being shooting handheld or in low light situations, I would again say that this is a more than capable camera. In both situations, I usually end up enhancing the shots that I get for the video a little bit in post anyway, so it makes up for the areas where the camera quality slightly suffers. In handheld situations, the camera body and the lens alone is a little bit too light, just like most other mirrorless cameras. So shooting like a music video or a product commercial where a lot of things are handheld, you sometimes get a little bit more shake or motion blur in there than you want. But this can be corrected with things like warp stabilizer in post. And in low light, having only an f4 on this lens camera setup forces me to push the ISO a little bit higher than I like, and that introduces noise into my shot sometimes. But again, this can easily be fixed one of two ways. You can get a faster lens if you have the money to put some money in good glass. That's always a good investment. Faster lens with a more wide open aperture can help bring in some more light so you don't have to crank your ISO. Or you can do it in post with something like Red Giant's denoiser, which is what I did on these shots right here. Overall, in my opinion, I think this camera is amazing, and it's still more than good enough to shoot in 2021. What I end up disliking about the videos I record usually has to do with a lack of my own skill in post-production, but that's really what the game is all about. You know, it's about going out and shooting, learning from those mistakes, learning in those areas where you're kind of weak, improving, and then going out and doing it all over again. So Sony A7III, definitely would recommend in 2021. Okay, so that's my thoughts on the Sony A7III in 2021. Let me know if you agree with this. Let me know if you disagree. If you have any questions or want to know more about my setup or anything that I showed in this video, leave them in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until the next one, I will catch you guys then. All right, peace out.